Today's podcast episode has been 4 years in the making. I have wanted this guest on literally for the past 4 years. She is one of the most influential people in the mortgage space. She is one of the most recognized mortgage professionals. She is a badass through and through. She's my new friend. You all know her as the Mortgage Nerd. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus. You are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. By way of Dallas, Texas, she's sitting down with me in Las Vegas, Nevada, because we are at Mastermind Summit 2025. She just came off the main stage. She's wearing her nerd glasses. When she's not slinging loans and she's not in the gym, she's probably hanging out with her hubby and her 7-year-old, or she's cheering on the Dallas Mavericks. She has handles like any point guard you've ever seen in the NBA, and she's a badass loan originator. She is the one, the only Denise Donahue, a.k.a. the Mortgage Nerd. Denise, welcome to T-Lop.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here. And what the hype, man. I need you around me like all the time.
Yeah, so like that's my shtick. That's my thing, because I think everyone deserves that moment of like Bruce Buffer in the octagon. Yeah. So, and I would also, like, if I could do it, I'd also have, like, your walk-up music.
Okay.
What would be your walk-up song?
It's Who's That Girl by Akon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. Is that always your go-to?
Yeah.
Like, I switched it up this year. Like, I'll go T.I., then I'm like, let's do Kid Rock. And I think this year I did a Jelly Roll rap song.
Oh,
so
wow.
not a country song by Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually, this is a male-dominated space, so I usually
You
go
don't
with,
say.
Yeah.
Pale, male, and stale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I usually go with a female hype, Who's That Girl or something along those
Beyonce
lines.
girls,
Oh, yeah.
they run this.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes I ever did, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole real quick. Like when I first started the show, because I was telling you off camera, like this show wasn't supposed to be for loan officers.
Yeah.
It happens to be. Loan officers freaking love it, and I love that they freaking love it. But it literally was like, hey, this is the shit they don't teach you in school. It's all the things you and I learned because we became mortgage loan originators. So early on, like I had this whole play into like women's empowerment. Like I'm a girl dad. Like,
Yeah,
and
I
my
love
daughter is my mini-me.
Yeah.
Like I have a son too, and I love him dearly. But my daughter, it's pretty recognizable when she walks into a room. Holy shit, that's Dustin in a female form.
That's cool.
So early on, I was like, cool, we're going to do this Dave Ramsey meet Joe Rogan thing. And one of my favorite interviews was a professional where she was with the WWE.
Okay.
And she first was trying to be a diva, then she got hurt. Don't know if you know anything about like professional wrestling. You are from Texas, so I'm assuming you know something.
I watched the reality TV show. I can't remember what the two
Yes.
girls, the sisters.
Well, that one, the Bella. Yes. No, but she was on a
And
reality.
The Miz. I know the Miz.
So the Miz came out of first he came out of the real world,
I know.
which was reality
Which is
TV.
how I knew him first.
Yes, me too.
Okay.
Then he went on like MTV did this like, so you want to be a WWE superstar.
Okay.
Anyhow, one of my favorite interviews wasn't even mortgage related. It was she was doing like the ring announcer for WWE, and she was a diva who got hurt, but she kept around, and her story is just amazing because she actually was a beauty pageant winner in college.
Wow.
Gymnast, and then found her way in sports entertainment. I don't know. How did I get down that rabbit hole? What did you say?
Female empowerment. Representing
yes.
male industry.
There we
are
go.
Ballin'.
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing it back in. So here's what we're going to do today. We're going to let the audience get to know you.
Okay.
We're going to ask you to pimp out the Nerd Academy.
Okay.
And we're going to go whichever way you want the conversation to go. And occasionally I'll take us down a rabbit hole. I'll ask you to drag me back out. And we'll try to get things wrapped up so you and I don't miss the last keynote speaker of the night.
Awesome.
Sounds good?
Sounds perfect.
All right. So let's start with this. You've been a loan originator for how long?
Okay. So I got into the business in 2007.
Okay.
But I walked in. I was in the business for 6 months. I walked in one day, and the broker said, "We have no more money to fund loans." And so,
which was pretty common back then.
Yeah. So I got out, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to the bank. The bank, J.P. Morgan Chase, was super secure. I didn't have to worry about them going out of business. But I became a personal banker and a financial advisor there for a few years. I got back into the mortgage space in 2012.
And how did you pick mortgage for your career? Like, did it pick you or did you pick it?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of a unique story, I guess I would say. When I was around 7 or 8 years old, my parents got divorced, and back then, it was like 35 years ago, it was really rare for the dad to get custody of 3 young kids. I have an identical twin sister and an older sister.
Shout out to the bird.
Yeah, D Bird. But it was super rare for the man to get custody. And I'll never forget it. The judge said that my mom he used the word unfit to raise children. And this would be another podcast episode, but my mom is the one who raised us. She took us to Bible study. She was very loving, nurturing, very normal. She was a powerhouse. At Xerox, she worked her way up the corporate ladder in New York City, like the toughest city in the world. But they said that this gene that she carried, a mental illness gene. So some people, when I say unfit, they just assume drugs or alcohol. But this gene got triggered, probably because my dad was abusive. And she's very bipolar, schizophrenic, and she wasn't fit to raise children at that point. And my mom couldn't take the shame and the embarrassment, because again, it was a long time ago, of being looked at weird at the grocery store or being in the neighborhood. And so she couldn't take it, and she left, and she moved to Florida. She lived in with her parents and left us to be raised by my dad. And my dad did the best that he could. In middle school, he actually inherited $500,000. We were living the large life.
Yes.
Like, we would get a blank check. He would tell us to go to the mall. We could buy whatever we wanted. But he did what most people do when they get money, is he spent it because no one taught him what to do with it. And so by the time we got into high school, we very quickly learned what happens when you run out of the money or you spend it all. And we started seeing signs of this, like living in Dallas, Texas, 100-degree weather in July, the AC bill would get cut, or the grass was really tall. And so we started seeing signs. If I wanted food, I ended up having to pay for it. If I wanted a yearbook, I had to pay for it. And then one day in high school, we were about 4 months away from graduating, and my sister and I pulled up to the front of the house, and all of our belongings were on the front yard.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking like not because the house flooded.
No. Mattress was on the front yard, picture frames, lamps. And I remember my dad standing there, and I will never forget this image. It's like burned into my skull. But I learned at that point what a foreclosure was.
Yeah.
I did not know that the bank could literally take the place that you call home away from you. I've never even heard of that. And my dad lived in that house for 26 years.
Was it a house that he inherited, or did he
No,
buy it?
He bought it for $62,000.
Okay.
It should have almost been paid off, 4 years away from being paid off. Of course, he had done cash out refinances and all the things. But he lost the money, and psychologically, when you lose the money, what all that did to his brain. But we lost the house. And so that feeling of, first being mad at my dad and angry and how could this have happened, and quickly turned into fear and, oh my gosh, we're homeless. Where are we going to live?
Anger, despair. Yes.
I mean, it just ignited this thing in me that I will never be in that situation again. I will create a career for myself that I will never allow that for my family one day. I mean, I sacrificed my entire 20s. I didn't do anything fun. I didn't party. I didn't get married. I didn't have kids. I'm like, I'm getting my career in line.
So you knew that at 17. Like that was a pivotal moment.
Oh yeah.
Scar burned in, like never again.
Never again. And I became obsessed with learning about money and finance and how to make money work smarter. And although I went to college, I will tell you, I didn't learn a whole lot of what I know today in college. I learned the textbook stuff, but not the real stuff. And anyways,
did you study finance at Texas A&M?
I studied business economics.
Okay.
So
your degree's in business economics. So like you picked a major that would help you get into a profession that had to deal with money.
Totally. I wanted measured standard deviation, like all the nerd. I was the total nerd in school.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah. So I graduated college, fell into the mortgage space for a few months in 2007 before the housing crash, and got into a bank where I became a financial advisor. And as a financial advisor, I thought that I would really enjoy that job because you're learning about finance and helping people invest their money and learning how compound interest and making money work smarter and all the things. But what I learned was in that role, you're working with people who already have money.
Yeah.
You're not working with the people who don't have money. And so I was like, well, who helps people who manage their debt or manage the money, or people like my dad? Who helps those people?
Loan officers.
Yeah,
Like literally loan officers do.
Yeah. So I got reintroduced to the mortgage space, and I was older, more mature, and I was like, wait a minute. A 1003, we see employment history, we see their income, we see all their debts, we see their credit history, we see their FICO score. You see way more than what even a financial advisor sees. And I was like, hold on, this is my calling. These are the people that need my help. They didn't ask for it. They don't even know.
They don't know they need your help.
They don't know that they need it.
Yes.
But I'm going to take a financial x-ray and I'm going to prescribe what this family needs to create generational change. And so I fell in love with the mortgage space, and I told people when I'd meet with clients, they would say, well, what number can I call you? And I'd say, call me the nerd. Call me at this number.
Wait, that early?
That early.
Okay, good for you.
It was 2012. Okay. The CEO actually of the company I was working for at the time told me not to do that. He was like, do not call yourself a nerd. Your job as a loan originator is to always be equal or above your clients. You should never put yourself in a position where you're below, and calling yourself a nerd puts you in a below submissive role.
Interesting.
And you don't want to do that. And this was a very fancy CEO, lots of money, traveled the world. I had so much respect for him. But there was this intuition in me that I was like, you know what? But getting a mortgage is like really scary and vulnerable, and I don't want to be above. I want to be their friend. I want it to be not intimidating. So I want to be the nerd. And so it was at that moment, literally 2012, I had this intuition. I said, screw it. I went on social media before people were using social media for what it is. And I started recording god-awful videos. Oh my gosh, those should stay in the vault. But we did it, and so to this day, I go by the Mortgage Nerd.
And did you start on YouTube in 2004?
I started on Facebook.
On Facebook in 2004?
I started on Facebook.
Because you were on YouTube
very
pretty early too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still leverage YouTube?
I'm not as
You're
great.
not? Okay.
No. Yeah. I'm mainly a Instagram, Facebook. If I have enough time, I'll repurpose the videos on like the shorts now that are on YouTube, but I should do more.
Because as a data nerd, you know your numbers, right?
Yeah.
Your presentation was all about knowing your numbers. In your Nerd Academy, I'm sure you teach knowing your numbers, because I know at TLOP, we teach knowing your numbers.
Yeah.
Knowing your numbers, I'm curious, how much of your business is coming from your social media?
You know, it's tough to measure because it's one of those things where most of the time my real estate agents will come from, hey, I've seen you online, and so then they reach out. Or the client, maybe a real estate agent refers a client to me, and the client fact checks me, whether they're looking at my reviews or they look at my social, and they're like, okay, yeah, no, I like her.
Yeah.
But when they fill out the form and we say, how did you refer us, they'll say their real estate agent name.
Yeah.
But the truth is they're still going to your stuff to see if you show up, because that today is like, I tell clients, it's like your storefront.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not posting or putting yourself out there, it looks like your business is not open. Like they showed up to your store and the open sign is off.
Yes, 100%. And I love the fact that you said that, because that is the truth, right? For as prolific as you are online with an amazing presence, like, people need to understand that it's not as quantifiable as, oh, I do one post, I get 5 leads, I convert 1 out of every 12 into a loan. It's like, no, I do content so that when the realtor refers me and those people look me up, like, oh yeah, that's someone I'd want to work with. Or when you reach out to that realtor to introduce yourself, like, wait a minute, I know you.
Exactly.
And now all of a sudden they're taking your meetings, they're accepting your offers.
Right.
And then magic happens.
Yeah.
It's more of a, because I'm an advertising public relations guy, that was my background prior to mortgage. And like in the advertising world, I would call that brand marketing, not direct marketing. Direct marketing is run ad, get lead, close lead.
Right.
Brand is like, no. And typically we need both. And you do both, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was just a not scripted question. That's just a Dustin's curiosity.
Yeah.
Scripted question. For the audience,
Yeah.
when did you feel like you made it as an LO? Like, was it months? Was it years? And by make it, I mean, like, because so many people are either in their 7th time going through their first year of their career, or maybe they got licensed just a year ago. And this isn't the easiest market. It's arguably one of the most difficult markets I've been a part of.
Yeah.
There's been days I'm like, give me 2008 again, because I'd rather that than the past 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So make it to me means you were not worried about, am I going to close a loan next month? You were not worried about, will I be able to pay all my bills?
Yeah. It's funny when you asked me that. I think when I started, all I wanted was to make 6 figures.
Of course.
Yeah, that's
yes,
like
growing up how we grew up,
yeah,
that was a big deal.
Yeah. But the very first company I worked for in 2012, I'm so grateful for them, Sente Mortgage. They taught us out the gate about database, stacking your bench, always be adding real estate agents. We sent 2 postcards a month to the client. That was all financial literacy. It had nothing to do with mortgage. But I had a recipe for staying top of mind in multiple different ways and methods. Today that might look like social media and emails and DMs. But in my career of 2012 when I started, they instilled those habits into me so early that I would say by year 2.5 to 3 years, I had created in my mind what I say made it is a repeatable, duplicatable business where the experience from manufacturing the loan from start to finish was on point. We closed on time, all the things. The communication was proactive, and our post-closing process and nurturing process for the client is what fueled my business thereafter.
Yep.
So I didn't have to, hustle for the real estate business as much because I call it brand equity. So you call it brand marketing. I call the social media stuff and the videos, and that's putting money into my brand equity account.
Okay, I like that.
And it's just building your reputation. It's building your brand. I always showed up as an educator, but
going back to 2012.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you're 13 years into this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But so luckily I instilled good principles of follow-up, staying top of mind, that by year 2.5, 3 years, I had hired my second LOA and we were rocking and rolling. I mean.
Yeah, so 2-3 years.
Yeah.
And I love that because that's the standard answer. Like I will tell anyone who's willing to listen, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Financial advisor, commercial real estate agent at Jones Lang LaSalle, loan officer at Benchmark.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah.
Like that's what my mentor told me. If you can't give me 2 years of your life,
yeah, I
cannot guarantee you success. But if you can give me 2 years, and sure as shit, his name is Steve Walsh, Steve was right.
Yeah.
Like there's one thing he was ever right about, it took 2 years,
yeah,
which meant I had to struggle. I had to do manual labor. I had to worry about paying my bills.
Yeah.
Until one day it just, like, swear to God, like if you hear that snap, like it happened. I'm like,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What?
Hey, that's what I think is kind of, it is harder today in the sense of it's mentally harder because on social media that struggle is not what's shown, right? Like
no.
I actually wish people could have had a GoPro and lived in my world for the first 2.5 years because I don't want people to only see the highlight realms of what loan officers are putting out there today because that's only going to be the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I would just share to that it's not only 2 years, it's 2 years of giving 1 out of 10 level commitment every day, not seeing results, getting hung up on, getting stood up for realtor appointments, but you show up the next day still giving 100%. It's that for 2 years.
Yeah, day. Like day, yes.
Like in the fitness world, it's like you eat a salad every day for lunch instead of my bag of Oreos, and maybe not losing weight or seeing anything noticeably different for 2 freaking years. It feels like eternity. Now, does that actually, but like that's the mindset you should have is like you're going to go 100 miles per hour every day for 2 years, and your literal life will be completely different.
Once you get through that. Once
If
you get obsessed, you go all
Yes.
in.
Yeah.
Intentionality, right?
Totally.
Is a big thing. What keeps you motivated today? Like, where you sit in your career today, where you're trying to go, when you wake up every single morning, what's your why?
Today, I get so much fulfillment of seeing other loan officers, how they think, how they work, and being able, with my experience and having to go through my own fair share of crap, of being like, we can make this small tweak in your presentation or in your outbound call or in your webinar strategy, and I can just see it. It's kind of like if you're a baseball coach and you're watching somebody swing and you're like, you just need to adjust your wrist a little bit, and then boom, you're hitting them, out the park. And so now that I've been in this long enough, I can see where they can make a change, and then I can offer that to them. We inspect it, we watch it, but seeing their business go from 2 or 3 loans a month. I've got a loan officer on my team right now. I've got I've got one that joined us. She did 0 loans in January, 0 loans in February. She's going to close 10 loans this month in June. I've got an LOA that was on my team.
That's following the nerd formula.
We have a specific nerd formula, nerd recipe. Now, it does require inspecting, and I think that's where people get hung up on is I can give you the script and you go do it, and you think, loan officer, you're presenting it in the same way, but we all have blind spots. And unless, like a pro athlete, you watch the tape, you don't know what your blind spots are unless you watch your film or you have a coach watch your film. And so in a lot of loan officers' minds, maybe they're following my exact presentation that I have in the Nerd Academy. They've watched my script because I record my call so they can copy it verbatim, but maybe their tone is off. Maybe their conviction is off. Yeah. Maybe you don't slow down reading, so you just sound robotic and like you're reading a script. All of those things matter, but my obsession today is I could go out and write more loans and make more money than I would like running Nerd Academy or hiring loan officers to the branch.
You mean that $97 a month isn't making you rich?
Yeah. No, but the stories of like, we've got someone on our team, she's been in this, listen to this. She's been in this business for 2.5 years.
You want to shout her out?
Jamie Goodwin in Florida.
All right,
Pensacola.
Jamie.
Yeah.
Oh, up in the 850.
Yeah.
All right. We call that Lower Alabama, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, she's a NASCAR girl, too.
Yeah, there we go.
So 2.5 years in the business. She's a mom. She's a wife. She has 2-year-old twins. She closed 29 loans last month.
What?
All referral-based. That chick just is relentless at following the recipe. And so it's just proof that I don't care if you've been in this business for a year, you just got your license, or you're 25 years in and you're like, I don't know where to freaking start. There's a recipe, if you're willing to put in the work, that you can follow, and I promise you it works. And when I see it, that's where I'm like, holy cow, this industry and this job fulfills my heart, but it also gives me a lifestyle that growing up,
yes.
I mean,
yeah.
I think my dad never made more than $50,000 a year. I don't even know. But like what we can do, it's just, it's magical.
It truly is life-changing, right?
It is life-changing.
Like you change your family's trajectory, but you change your community. You probably tithe a lot to your church. Like there's so many things that you're able to do on top of, it's like we're being paid to help shape people's lives. We're making people's lives better while also making our lives better.
Totally.
Which is probably why people like you and I fell in love with this industry.
Yeah, I did.
How about this? What are 2 things loan officers are not doing at a high enough level, or not at all, that if they just started doing those 2 things, you know from all of your experience, because look, for you, for me, for so many others that have been at this game, the game has slowed down, right? That's what they talk about NFL. An NFL quarterback with 8 years experience, well, the game slowed down.
Yeah.
Versus a rookie, I mean, things are just going 100 miles an hour.
Right.
Now that things have slowed down, what advice are you telling these loan officers? Like, do these 2 things, and if you do it, you'll see just a massive change to the positive.
So the very first thing is, in our world, first 90 days, we're tracking everything that you do. So step 1 is we have to track what you're doing, and we require at least 60 minutes of what we call a power hour, where you're stacking your bench of real estate agents. I'm not only a 1-for-1 fishing type connector. I do believe in the one-to-many. Obviously, I'm on social media and host webinars, but we have to track your time and what you're doing and what sales activities you're doing. I have a specific tracker that they check off, and then in 90 days, we assess it. And here's the thing. I hate tracking.
But if you track it,
but if
what
you
happens?
don't, here's the thing. If you don't have the data to know where you need to make the improvements. That's just the brutal, honest truth. So for me to be able to help you get from point A to point B in the fastest time period, I need to know what the hell you're doing for 90 days. We need to assess it, track it, find the gaps, and then make the tweaks. The second thing right now in 2025, I would say, is most loan originators have not slowed down the process of the first step with the client. We're still operating like how we always have. And what I mean by that is the average age of a first-time home buyer right now is 38, 39, depending on who you ask. Just 4 years ago, it was like 28. So the truth is, the journey of when somebody wants to buy before they can actually buy, that journey is a lot longer than we've ever seen it. So how are we nurturing the client in that journey? But more importantly, how are we inviting that client to talk to us and do business with us? That's the shift that needs to happen, because most of us are still saying, come get pre-qualified, come get pre-approved. Our real estate agents are saying, you need to go get pre-approved with my loan officer. But the truth is the first step is we need to have a planning consult. No credit pull, no mortgage interrogation form. I just want to talk to you about your goals and where you might want to be, because here's what I know. In the last few weeks, and quite frankly this whole year, I have talked to clients that said during our planning call, I didn't think I had enough money to put down for a down payment, so I didn't call a lender because they were dequalifying themselves, thinking that they didn't have enough money, they didn't have enough credit, or the credit wasn't good enough, they haven't been at their job long enough. They're dequalifying themselves because they think the first step is, but if I talk to a lender, I'm going to have my credit pulled, and I don't want my credit pulled, so I'm going to assess my own problems and wait.
Yeah.
And they wait,
and tell
and they
myself
wait, and
no.
they wait. Yeah. And if you go to almost any loan officer's website, guess what the options are to connect with the loan officer? Apply here. Maybe there's a contact me or a call. Maybe. But most of the time it's apply here. That is a aggressive first invitation for a homeowner, first-time home buyers making up 50% of the market. We need to be putting more content out there. Our websites, our social media need to be more inviting of, let's have a planning call, not a mortgage interrogation. You should do this 12 months before you're thinking of selling or buying. You need your real estate agents to adopt the same language. You will get more people in, and then you need to have a nurturing process for that time period, but you'll see, you'll be able to help more clients because you had the conversation early on.
I'm so happy we connected today because we're kindred spirits. I sat in a room like the one we're in today last year, and I told a group of originators or mortgage brokers, stop doing pre-approvals.
Yeah.
Stop doing pre-quals. Nobody wants that. That's not fun, and it's not necessary. Start doing home buying consultations.
Yep.
Because home buying consultation is honestly what it is.
It is.
You and I know that eventually I need to pull your credit. Eventually I need to do a diagnostic of your income and your employment history and your assets. But in the very beginning, no, it's about, hey, what's your comfort monthly payment?
Right.
Like, how long do you think you're going to own this house for? What's your time frame? What's most important to you?
Totally.
Right? Like all the things that you probably walk people through as an originator, and now what you teach your originators or what you teach in Nerd Academy. I'm going to let you pimp out Nerd Academy in a second, but before I do, I have one last question.
Yeah.
It's a fun one.
Okay.
What's one thing, like I know you're probably like, Dustin, I got a dozen of them, but what's one thing that you laugh at because it was a massive like foobar, F up, terrible decision that you made, but at the time you thought it was a great decision. At the time you're like, this is going to make me so much money.
Yeah.
It's going to generate so many leads. What's the one thing that comes to mind for you?
This might shock you guys, and my sister might kill me, but Dee Bird, who's the marketing expert now, I hired her as a loan officer assistant. She was a teacher. She was a 7th grade science teacher. I would call her during the day. She would be dissecting frogs.
Okay.
And I'm like, I need help. So what better thought than to hire your identical twin? She could think like you, speak like you. Like, I could double my business, clearly, if I hired my identical twin. It was a nightmare. We almost killed each other. I don't think we spoke for a year after we decided it wasn't going to work out. And it was a nightmare. I actually rebranded even our team name to Mortgage. I think it was like Twin Mortgage or something. I mean, it was total epic failure.
Like you were all in on the twin thing.
I was so all in, and it was such an epic failure. So
I love it.
Don't hire your twin sister thinking that it's going to double your business. Hire her for marketing all day long, but just we can't work. We almost killed each other.
Oh, all right. So now do us a favor. If people want to learn more from you, like how do they do so? How do they become a part of the Nerd Academy? What's the Nerd Academy?
Sure. So it's mortgagenerdacademy.com. It's $97 a month. It's month to month. It's no contract. What it is, it's an e-learning platform where you can start whether you're 1 year into the business or 25 years, the very first thing is we got to know what your numbers are. We need to know what your conversion rates are. We need to know what your goals are. You need to get used to looking at a tracker and tracking your stuff. And then every month I do a live Zoom call. Every value bomb email that I send to my real estate agents, you guys can copy from every presentation. But I obsess over right now our presentation skills with a client during the client consult or during the interest rate lock, because I'm a firm believer that if you study the words we use in the sequence that we use them, it could be the smallest change in your conversion. And so I teach loan officers that. I share them all my material. They become part of our Facebook community. They get all my nerd calculators and, how I do this and how I do that. And it's I want them to take it and I want them to make it better. But the truth is I've been able to scale and grow this business. I'm home every night by 5:30 p.m. I eat dinner with my family. Like you said, I have a 7-year-old. Our division is going to do over 2,000 units this year.
Nice.
But you can have a work-life balance and still grow and scale and it not be a disaster. Now, I have failed more times than not, but it's like my passion is giving people a slingshot into their own business of, you can certainly do it on your own, there's no doubt. Or here's all my stuff. Slingshot yourself 3-5 years in the future so that you're not having to figure it all out on your own. And here's exactly how I do it, and the scripts and the verbiage and all the things. Just copy it. I don't care. I
love it.
Yeah.
Way to give back to the industry that's given so much to you.
Totally.
Yeah. Again, I think I know a thing or two about that as well.
Yeah.
Denise, thank you so much for this. I hope this isn't our last time being able to do content together and collaborate.
Definitely not.
A Florida kid and a Texas girl, but we'll figure out a way to maybe do future
I'm coming
content.
to Florida. I'm going to the palm trees. I love Florida.
I don't know if you know this, but Deb tried to get you and I to do a show together a year ago, because I think you were doing Sisters Weekend at Disney. And I was like, I'm only 30 minutes up the road from Disney.
Yes.
Because I'm a little bit of a prima donna. We only record in person.
I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember.
Well, look, it didn't happen then, but it happened now. Next time you're in Orlando, let me know. She's Denise Donahue, a.k.a. The Mortgage Nerd. I'm Dustin Owen. You just tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast. That is all the time we have for you today, but we do look forward to catching you on the next episode. Peace.